There we are.
Welcome, everybody.
Well, hey, Fru.
Hi, David. Oh, I said David.
That's my name. I mean, that's what she says when no one's
Not
listening.
everybody knows that that's your name, but
Trip and Jason, nice to have you here, guys.
yeah, we are very excited to introduce two very special guests today, Trip Harlan and Jason Grafassi from the Biooptimization Institute from Florida. I
Right
probably
on.
should say that. That's why they're not in the studio. And the Biooptimization Institute focuses on helping people improve recovery, resilience, brain function, performance, and long-term wellness by using advanced tools that support how the body functions at a deeper level. And their work includes modalities such as PEMF, red light therapy, oxygen-based training, vestibular work, vibration-based tools, movement, breath work, lymphatic support, and nervous system recovery strategies. I don't think I could add anything else
I
to
think
it.
they'll even throw you in a bucket
that-
of ice.
not a whole lot of things that we can add to this that I would suggest for people to do besides of this. But what we love about this conversation is that it goes beyond the old model of simply treating symptoms, and that's one of the reasons we're super excited to have them here. And it's more so about asking better questions, such as what does the body need to function better? What does the brain need to recover better? What inputs help the nervous system reorganize? And how can people begin improving their health even when they feel stuck? Instead of me saying any more things about them, I would like to, Jason and Trip, please tell us about yourself, like how you actually got into holistic wellness, and then please tell us a little more about the company, like how it came about, and what your motivation was in starting it.
Okay, I'll go first. My name is Trip Harlan, and I'm originally from Fort Myers, Florida. My story is all about concussions. As a young child, as an infant, I started experiencing head trauma. Ended up in the hospital for, just being a young boy, playing, thinking I was Superman, diving off the counters. And then it progressed into high school where I was playing contact sports, football, soccer, and even martial arts. Through my 20s, was very kind of dumb and dull and slow. My cognitive function wasn't there. A big part of it was I was self-medicating with alcohol to help relieve the symptoms. And that progressed into years of addiction with alcohol. And luckily, I had that opportunity because it took me down the right avenues to begin to search and look for these healing modalities and systems to help not only heal my brain, but make myself a better all around person. So, my pain the purpose story was something that I really appreciate. I got into yoga, nutrition, breath work, all that type of stuff. I was really changing my lifestyle, but the electricity, that voltage still wasn't going through my body. My brain wasn't working correctly. And it wasn't until I started utilizing a lot of these modalities that I actually got the cognitive function, the blood flowing through my brain, and actually was able to heal the brain tissue. And almost immediately after starting to utilize this system, you could see the spark back in my eyes, the cognitive flow of my speech was much better.
You didn't sound drunk anymore, huh?
Yeah, I mean, and obviously the drunkenness, getting rid of that was a big part of it too, but it was just such a like it was someone clicked the light switch on. And so ever since then, it was something, not only did I want to share this with my friends and family, but also I realized I could monetize this and turn this into a business and help the world. And that led me into finding all the right leaders in the industry, whether it's the owners of all the different companies, all the different neurological intelligent practitioners, in this industry. But then it also led me into meeting Jason, which was such a blessing. With obviously you'll hear from him his pain to purpose story, his experience, but really a big part of it was his business intelligence that was able to take this from just a concept, an idea, to the next level.
That's awesome. Jason, you're like Tesla. I don't know if you know that story about Tesla, but that's awesome, man. When I was talking about you didn't sound drunk anymore, that's one of the symptoms. I sounded drunk even when I wasn't drunk. I talked like slurring, and I went to court one time, and they sent me. I lost the battle. They said I came to court drunk, and I'm on disability. You know, they gave me disability, so this is what a lot of people are dealing with, is what you found out to be true. And let's hear yours, Jason.
So like Tripp had mentioned, those pain to purpose stories, I feel like lead a lot of us to this point where we're at right now. And so mine would start with weight. Growing up, working out, I wanted to put weight on. I was the skinny kid, couldn't put weight on. And then once college hit, I blew up like a balloon and went up to 220 pounds. And so I had the working out understood, but I clearly was not grasping the diet and supplements. And so went into understanding food. And that's where I read Dave Asprey's Bulletproof Diet and learned about, it comes from the soil, it comes from organic. It's not what you eat, it's what you eat eats type, and then toxins. And so started learning that and diving in just for my own weight loss journey. Went down from 220 to now I've been hovering around 165 regularly. Gut and detoxing was another big life experience. In 2018, I had a huge rash take over my whole body. Started out as just scratching on my leg, and then ended up going up my stomach, up my neck, onto my lip, and of course scared the life out of me, right? I was on a trip in Florida and was thinking the worst case scenarios that I got like a flesh-eating bacteria or something. So that kind of took, ironically, the Dave Asprey knowledge and the Ben Greenfield knowledge and had me go into my own personal experiences on gut health and bacteria and how that can really impact. And, a lot of it was also nervous system and stress, which I know we'll get into. That was kind of my second little personal pain to purpose journey that led me here. And then the third one is revolved around brain. I've had a good friend and some other people close to me have mental health challenges, being bipolar. And then my dad, actually, who is now only 73 and can barely say a full sentence, which was an issue that started after he got a certain vaccine. And so I've had my personal challenges with helping people close to me, friends and family, deal with their brain issues and better understanding, again, kind of the gut brain connection, from mental health to the speech challenges that my dad's been going through. And so through all of these experiences, basically researching and learning on my own and testing with them, and then eventually met my amazing wife, Jessie, who is a nurse who knew Tripp. And Jessie was talking about Tripp and saying, check out what Tripp is doing. And so Tripp and I started talking, and it just clearly made a lot of sense to take our personal experiences and then knowledge and put it together and take the idea that Tripp had already put into motion and kind of help support it and bring it along as best that I could.
Right on.
So, Tripp, you had the company started before you met Jason, correct?
I've gone through a couple different business models of it, had a few other teams that I was working with, but they were more into it for the money, and they weren't as understanding and intelligent as with the health side of things. So we had a couple good business models, but it wasn't nearly as progressive as what we're doing now. Not only did Jason bring the business aspect of it too, but he's one of the only other people that I know that have the intelligence of, the science behind what's going on. So it just progressed it from, an idea, a couple good business models into the way we've worked it now, where we're, leveraging all these advanced modalities, technologies, and we're not, I guess back then we were more biohacking, and now we're bio, optimizing, which is instead of just kind of guessing and trying different things, it's involved more into an intelligent structure where it's more consistent and measurable outcomes instead of just like trial and error and guessing what works. And so that's where we like to say, it's the difference between biohacking and biooptimization. We've taken it to that next step.
That's awesome. Now, you guys, I'm going to say this real quick before I forget it. When I met Fru, Fru had a modality. It was a body sound chair. And she took a man like me that I had PTSD. I couldn't, I'm focused. They carry on a conversation with me, wear you out. And she had a device that I was ultimately going to lay in and learn how to meditate. And it did. It took me into a deep meditative state, like the very first time I went in on it. But anyway, she's very excited about being a broker of these such things, which is what you guys are basically doing. And so when I saw you on Headrush podcast, I'm like, man, Fru's going to be the nerdiest nerd out on this. And when she first talked with Jason, I sat there like.
Well, let's clarify that a little bit, because a broker is usually known for like selling, like buying and selling, and you guys are really like, correct me if I don't understand this properly, but you're more like helping people, guiding them through and choosing the right things and creating programs. Is it how you help people when they come to you?
I'd say it's a good combination of both.
Okay.
Right. So, we like to say that we up-level individuals and organizations on their wellness journey.
Okay.
Right. So whether that's a person that comes to us and is looking for, has some, whether elite athlete, right, or a chronic inflammation issue, they would come to us and we could then direct them to the right experts and then right modalities and equipment. And then they have the option to continue through with us or go with, someone from the team, one of the experts that we think is in the best place. And then on top of that, then they can also buy the equipment to be able to do it at home or in their place of business. So it's kind of, to both of your points, it's a combination of that. We're basically trying to bring all the best of the best equipment, information, experts together and helping other people be their own scientists, right? So again, whether that means working with us, working with our team, or just taking the equipment and using it in their place of business or their home.
So
It's every person's dream. Nobody knows their body
Yes.
like themselves.
No, we're all snowflakes. We're all one of a kind. I
Right.
mean, you can't, there's no one pill fits all. You also have to do things sustainably, right? Like that's why the
Yes.
word diets is so tough. I mean, like people get on a diet thinking it's just going to solve a problem right there, but you need to find what works for you.
And stay
So
faithful
that's
to it.
right.
Yep, you got to stay faithful to it. Longevity, doing it for same thing for a long time. I heard that's what Tripp was talking about a little bit.
So what assessment, what kind of system do you guys use for assessment when like somebody comes in? Like how do you figure out like what they actually need? Either from what you're offering or from what the network that you're working with can offer to them.
Well, that's a big part is the evaluation process at the beginning. A big part of what we like to do is get into kind of the medical side of things where we're able to get the blood work. We're getting a lot of like the real good baseline numbers so we can intelligently see exactly what's going on in the body. Once we get that process, then we can start to figure out exactly what diet, what potential regenerative medicines, including peptides, even exosomes, to start to reduce the inflammation in the body. So by the time they work with us or one of our experts, they're not just coming in polluted, heavy metals, toxins, even parasites, and their body is more bioavailable to accept the healing. But then as we progress, we get into stuff like movement, balance, different neurological functions, and that's where we decide where to start. And obviously, we've gone from day-to-day training into more of a data collection process where we're tracking their progress. We're showing through different wearables and technologies, even in certain brain scans, exactly where their baseline is, so we can show before, during, and after their progress. And so people aren't just feeling better and saying they're feeling better. We can tangibly show that what we are doing is effective.
That's important.
Yeah, the
Trip, you
accountability.
you nailed it. The blood work's a big one. The gut microbiome tests are a big one. Balance testing, right? There are different pieces of equipment.
You guys might
There's
see
the-
me as a patient soon. I got red flagged for heavy metal toxins, and I have to go get my blood work done and find out. But
Well, if we're being real, I mean, I think majority of us would get red flagged for metal toxins, right? I mean, it's the air we breathe, the food we eat. It's unavoidable, and it's going to become a part of daily life, and annual checkups really is detoxing regularly, because it's never going to be, we're never going to have a clean earth and clean food, at least at the rate we're going. So we know it's unavoidable. You just have to, but that's where, so that's to your point. So a toxins test, a balance test to check their balance. Trip had mentioned the brain scan. NeuroCatch is a big one that we'll use at the beginning to actually see where their brain is, and really get the baselines of everything too, because just like we talked about everyone being different, we also have different baselines. That's why getting that blood work is typically one of those top ones that we want to get data from. People don't always have to have the data to be able to, for us to give them an idea of next steps, but it definitely is a big help in rather than just guessing and throwing things against the wall, determining where they stand on those, brain balance, gut, blood, even getting into genetics. That's another big one.
if someone's coming in right now, would you guys give a location where they can find you? If someone just tuned in right now, and how attention span people skip out real quick, why don't you let us know where you guys can be found, your offices?
Trip is actually over, I think, are you over in St. Pete right now, Trip, at the St. Pete location inside of St. Pete Calisthenics?
Yep, I'm located in downtown St. Pete right now, which is one of the most progressive cities in the country. Beautiful, right on Tampa Bay. We have the beaches right up the road, so we get the best of the best here, and that's what makes it nice when people come to town and work with us. It's like a life vacation too. It's similar to when people are going to a recovery center for alcohol or drugs. Not only are you getting treatment, but you're stepping away from your normal everyday life. And we're not just sending them to, just some random location. We have this almost like urban city retreat with, different options. We've done it with a handful of our clients, friends, and family. So downtown St. Pete in the Tampa Bay area is an amazing place, and we're very lucky to be here to have that in our repertoire as well.
Very cool. And is that the main location? Is it the only location? Yeah. Okay. Okay. And then you do work out of like different locations through other providers, yes, that's what I kind of recall from the conversation we had with Jason. Would you tell a little bit about that, Jason?
Yeah, so that's, as we mentioned, a big part of the business model is up-leveling individuals and organizations, right? So we'll go into, for example, a med spa and see what their services are that they're offering their clients, and then see where there are gaps or opportunities for them to offer more. And then that's a situation where we would set up, okay, here's a package of equipment, typically revolving around the biooptimization protocol, which Trip can get into in a minute, but typically creating a package that fits into their business, but also can fit into collecting the proper data for the bigger picture. And then that becomes a satellite type location, right? Where we would work out of, say, 200 square feet in a med spa in Tampa, is a situation set up with TLC Boutique Wellness, where they can do their daily business, but they can then now provide more through the equipment and then the data collection and sharing with our team.
So what is the biooptimization protocol?
The biooptimization protocol is a combination of a handful of modalities and kind of processes to turn the electricity back on in the body. Our body's a battery, and through food, toxins, just like Jason was talking about earlier, stress, we've dulled down our battery, our blood's not as primed. And so that's a big part of creating this protocol. And if we want to get in step by step, after we go through the evaluation and we actually get people into, the healing or the facility, we start off with a step called priming. And that is a big part of down regulating the nervous system. We have all the stressors going on in our life, and we need to make sure the brain and body's ready to heal, and we're not still in fight or flight mode. So we utilize a technology called PEMF, pulsed electromagnetic frequency. And so with that, we use a very intelligent product called Syntropics Cloud, which is a low frequency actual PEMA, molecular activation, to not only downregulate the nervous system, but it has a handful of programs where you're able to improve energy, sleep, post surgery, post workout healing is a really impactful one that we've seen a lot of our clients go through and really recover so much quicker. But we use the PEMA to downregulate the nervous system, charge the cells, and then it starts to get the body ready for the rest of the process. And in this priming stage, we can stack a few different things like photobiomodulation red light, especially a heated warming one, because the body, when it's warmed up, the blood's flowing, it's able to accept oxygen better, which is the second step. And so we have priming is the first step. The second one is oxygenation. And when you think of oxygenation, most people think of hyperbaric chambers or, 90, 100% oxygen that you're breathing on the sidelines of a football game, or when you're in the hospital and, you need oxygen. But the science and studies behind breathing high altitude oxygen, or a less percentage of it, say around 10% oxygen, won a Nobel Prize in 2019 for how the body and cells adapt and react to breathing that high altitude oxygen. So basically, like a lot of what we're doing, it's a controlled stressor. You're breathing less oxygen and the body starts to go through a fight or flight. The first thing it does, it increases red blood cells. The second and probably the most important thing it does, it creates an oxygen demand in your tissue, and that's brain tissue as well. So we're creating a demand for oxygen, almost like a sponge, by challenging yourself by breathing less oxygen. And we do that by breathing specific breath work, very slow, typically very slow, slowing down the breaths per minute, fully utilizing the lung capacity, breathing all the way to empty lungs. And through this process, we're able to drop the body into hypoxia, which is pretty much 93% oxygen or below. And a lot of people think that's a bad thing, but it's actually one of the greatest things that you can do for the body, especially when you're able to contrast it with that good healing oxygen. So that's what we do. We drop the body into hypoxia, we create that controlled stress, then we contrast it with the good recovery oxygen, and it soaks up into the cells and assimilates into the body far more efficiently. So we do that a couple rounds, We oxygenate the body. We give the cells and the tissue what it needs, and it's a very
Neat.
euphoric
That's so cool.
process. It's a very special feeling. Whereas hyperbaric is very stagnant. You're in a chamber. A lot of people have issues with hyperbaric because of the confined space and even the tinnitus that can be that happens while you're in the chamber. So with this, you're typically on a stationary bike or something that can speed up the heart rate, control that physical output, and we're literally able to start sending that new blood and oxygen up the cerebral fluid, up the spine, and into the brain. And that's pretty much where I got that full like electricity, that cognitive awareness back to my brain was after my first or second session of doing this high altitude oxygen. And just to finish kind of our whole biooptimization protocol, the third step is the activation process. And typically we're going right into micro impact vibration, which is when you think of vibration plates, their typical vibration plates are way too aggressive on the soft tissue, tendons, ligaments, and that's even your brain floating around in your head. So when you step on these normal shake plates, it can actually have these TBI issues reoccur, which that's what I felt when I first started training, way too aggressive. So we work with a company called Juvent Micro Impact and micro impact plates, and it is a very Nikola Tesla vibration. You talked about Nikola Tesla earlier. Through our protocol, we're creating the energy through the breath and the oxygen. We have the different frequencies through the PEMF and photobiomodulation, and then we're even getting into the vibration. And through this very strategic medically delivered micro impact process, we're actually able to make the bones more dense, more malleable and flexible. We're stimulating the metabolic process inside of your bones where your red blood cells and white blood cells, your immune system are formed. We're getting your certain steps per day in where a lot of elderly or aging patients aren't able to do that. So that's a really beautiful part of it. We combine photobiomodulation to that, and we actually work with a technology called 40 Hertz. It's a strobe delivery where it's sending 40 flashes per second into the eyes and brain through the red light therapy, and it's able to actually reduce the amyloidal plaque buildup on the brain, reduce the inflammation, and it literally feels like it's petting your brain. It's a very, very unique process to go through this. And then one of the final kind of main thing in our activation process is a huge thing that we've just added in the last year or so, working with a genius rock star named Sheila Thielen, is the vestibular training. And vestibular is a very important part. That's the brain control system for balance, vision, movement. And it's basically what connects your eyes, your inner ear, your brain, your body. And if that is off and not working correctly, you have poor coordination, your brain fog, anxiety, and that's where you can get in a lot into the vertigo type issues. And so through this process, we're able to spin typically very slowly, and we're utilizing eye tracking, head movements, and different ways to activate the vestibular system. And for me personally, it's been that next like aha moment for myself where I felt that great cognitive enhancement through the oxygen. But now, like when you're oxygenating the brain, you get everything flowing through our protocol, and then you start to spin and work on the vestibular. I'm just personally feeling that supercharged activation. At first, I was feeling a little bit queasy. A lot of people might feel that TBI, that almost like seasickness. But others feel energized right away. But me personally, because of my concussions and brain issues, I was feeling a little off. But through this controlled stress, through repetition, now I'm loving it, and it's been a huge part of my day to day personally. And then after we get through those main modalities, those 3 steps, then we're getting into stuff like training, using neurological fitness, not just your typical like workout, but actually combining the balance, the weight training to take it to a next level once we've charged the body. So then adding a couple different modalities where we're actually, once we get the body and brain and everything back to homeostasis and it's healed, then let's optimize and getting into executive health, thinking better, thinking more efficiently, quicker. So we have a handful of companies and experts we work with on the brain optimization side of things as well.
So that kind of opens it up for, I guess, not just, well, not that, all of them, not just for traumatic brain injury survivors, but you probably serve a whole lot of other kind of people. Is that right? I mean, who are your regular or average clients? What are they like?
Well, now we're getting into, when I first started, because of my background with sports and concussions, it was more of the athletes. But then as we're getting in with these neurological experts, I mean, this is stuff like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, all the different neurological issues that, our parents and, even Jason and I in our 40s now, like we're creating those issues now for the future if we don't do something about it.
Right.
So now that we've stepped in and started working with a lot more of these almost like medical experts, we are able to kind of tap into a whole different array of, I guess, like different pillars into the system. So it's not only just athletic performance, and it's the neurological side of things as well.
That's wild. It's I felt God instructed me to go to Denver, climb to the top of a mountain, and He would heal me. And I did. I was in Florida and living homeless, and I got my way out to Denver, and that's how I met Fru. But I was just sitting here tripping on what you guys are doing with high altitude oxygen. I mean, God knows what He's doing. He sure does, and I'm glad He does because I'm here today. Isn't this interesting, Fru?
The Denver
Oh, the whole
correlation
thing,
or
all of it.
yes, absolutely. What I found interesting was, and definitely worth to mention, is that like when you compare this with the traditional medical system, it's not just, as I said at the beginning, that you're not working only with symptoms, but also you guys are working on prevention. So like, would you speak a little bit to that, Jason?
It's funny what you just said, David, and I was just going to kind of continue on that. God knows what He's doing. I mean, our bodies know what's going on way better than we do, right? And that's why this protocol and why our foundation of work is so centered around getting the body and really all the way down to the cells, right? Getting the cells to function properly and then getting out of the way.
Yeah.
Right? The body knows what to do from that. With so much of, the medicine system that we have here that's turned into a business, a lot of it is, like you said, symptom based, and then they're even creating other symptoms based on what they're doing. But they're getting in there and they're solving one problem, but creating 5 other because they're blocking certain things, and then the body can't function as a whole. And it's an ecosystem, it needs to function as a whole. And that's really the root of BOI and our belief system, and it's a growing system, right? That more and more people are stepping into. We want to get the body what it needs. Tripp mentioned the voltage, right? The PEMF that's getting those cells up to the right level. The red light, getting the right light, the frequency, the vibration, getting that into the body so it can get to a homeostasis. Because God and the body know way more than we do, and they can take it from there. And that's truly our foundation and our belief with all of this is let's get you the right support and then get out of the way.
It's totally exciting because of medicine. Let's see, 2009, They thought they found the answer to my suicide attempts and said I had thyroid disease and put me on Synthroid, which just basically kills your thyroid and stops the function. And then all of a sudden they noticed testosterone was really low, so they wanted to give me testosterone. All the things that medicine did was, like you said, blocked. It stopped me from making the right amount of testosterone. It stopped my thyroid from functioning properly. And God came along with this young lady and frequency, sound bowls.
Singing bowls.
Singing bowls, sound bowls, singing bowls, and I mean, healed me, reset my whole system. I went to the hospital right after that, and it was 2 months after that, and got my blood work done. My thyroid hadn't functioned in 10 years. My testosterone was that of a 90-year-old man, and everything was back to normal. The doctor's like, you don't have a thyroid issue, you don't have a testosterone issue, and it all come down to singing bowls
One
at that
session,
point.
one session.
And being in a high altitude, I also
Focus
think
prayer.
I also think it follows obedience. So if God tells you to do something, no matter how weird it is, do it, because
Which is, you guys are enhancing the obedience is there when there is accountability. And so with the variables and everything that you're talking about, obviously you're helping with accountability. It's easier for people to stay accountable, right? And then you can keep track of what they're doing, so then you can keep them accountable too. But what are the changes? And I'm gonna ask you, Trip, because you actually essentially started this journey on your own a little earlier. What are essentially that people are saying that they experienced once they went through the program?
A big part of it is just getting their livelihood back, being able to not only feel better, but it's also that communication aspect, not only with their friends, their family, or their coworkers, but potentially even that communication with your higher power. By turning the electricity on in the brain, getting rid of these petroleum-based pharmaceutical medicines, I believe in, especially in my personal and through a handful of our different clients, we're able to tap into the source and your inner voice. So a lot of times when things are troubled and you're sick or you're sad, you're depressed, you're trying to pray or meditate and
It doesn't work.
yeah, and listen to and have, God bring those answers. But through a lot of these studies and through what I've been reading, a lot of it shuts down that inner voice, and I felt it before too. So by recharging the body, getting the brain, blood flowing up to the brain, we're able to actually communicate with ourselves and our higher power a little bit more. So we're not feeling lonely, isolated from the world. Even when we are by ourselves, we have that connection. So that's been a beautiful part of my process, where for years, especially with the TBI, concussions, the alcohol, I was cut off from source. And now it's a beautiful thing to just close my eyes, tap in, and it's just always there.
peace. You got peace in there. You guys want to hear something crazy? 2010, they diagnosed me bipolar, and one of the medicines they found worked to keep me from being so grandiose. It controlled the electrical current in my heart and shut me completely down. I gained like 70 pounds the first year. It's called Geodon, and they balanced that out by throwing like 120 milligrams of Adderall at me a day. So I was just like, and I didn't realize it till later on that medicine controlled the electrical current in my heart. And man, I'm talking about being separated from my source, the power of God that I'd lived in and experienced. I was done. I had no personality or anything.
I'm glad we're talking about this because, we talk to TBI survivors and trauma survivors. Not enough times we mention how important the spiritual aspect is, of the healing, because we're talking about holistic healing. So you have to look at every single level, right? And I started to sense that from the very beginning as I started to work with people, whether it was diet, nutrition, or if they had like any sort of mental wellness issues, is that they are disconnected. Like that's the number one problem, is like connecting them back with themselves, as you said, with a higher power, with their community, with their family, this was the ultimate goal with David, to connect him back with his family, with his children. Like those things make a huge difference in
Evidence.
someone's life.
Fat, sick, and nearly dead. You guys seen that documentary? I saw it about that time in my life, and I went on a 66-day juice fast. And during that time, the medication stopped working because it needed calories to metabolize
Fat
properly.
probably.
It quit working, and I had not written a song since my accident in '08. Hadn't played my guitar, and in that period of time, I sat down and wrote like 14 songs, playing my guitar. I walked around telling everybody how great I felt. Christmas dinner, I'm sitting there with a glass of green juice. And they're like, "Don't you?" But I still smoke cigarettes. They're like, "Man, how can you quit eating and not quit smoking?" I'm like, "I didn't want to quit smoking." Anyway, it's just really cool to hear what you guys are doing with information that I had no clue what was going on. It's just doing it, and it's God. God's involved in what you guys are doing. That's so neat.
I mean, that's the interesting part with all this too. And, the equipment and the technology help people kind of connect to something that's a little more physical, right? You can see the red light, the spinning, you're spinning. But you look at things like Germanic what we're talking about here, Germanic New Medicine talks about, I think it's something like 98% of cancers and disease is mental, is emotional, which then creates the issues in the body. Right? So, yeah. So, technically, and I know this goes a little far, but like this equipment is also only, it's helping give people a solution that need that. But like, if you could find a way to fully just let go and go back to a peaceful state, I mean, we know what we know about the nervous system, right? Down-regulating that nervous system, being relaxed, again, letting the body operate. If you're in fight or flight, which is what they've got us all in, you're not going to heal. You can take all the great supplements in the world, but you're in fight or flight. Your body's blocking everything from going in. It's saying, wait a second, we got to solve what's going on inside first before any of these things that come in can even help us. And it's really exactly what you're saying with the spiritual side. Is that, a lot of these things can be solved with really none of this technology at all. If we could find our way, it's just hard for so many people to get to that place, right? To mentally get there and then physically get there, and then time, you don't have the time in the day.
The matter of
Yeah.
what, like different tools, but the question is, how are you going to get the parasympathetic nervous system activated? Like once you get that activated, that's when the body starts to heal. That's when people get connected. That's when they calm down, and then just those processes kind of work themselves out in a natural way. Well, of course, we don't want to keep pounding like toxins and, like Trip mentioned, the alcohol, and cigarettes and all that kind of stuff. We don't. But that comes with a certain type of demographic also.
And it takes time.
So which is, I understand that, especially like veterans and trauma survivors, they're prone to that kind of behavior. And so there is more of a tear and wear and tear in the body because of that, right? Have you guys noticed that people who have more of that have usually like a longer way to healing? What are your observations about that?
Well, like Jason said, everyone's different with this process. Everyone's gone through their different trauma. They process it differently. So that's something that, it's case by case, but, kind of like talking about what we were just saying before, the reason we have to use these technologies and some of this regenerative medicine is because we've been dulled down so much. And it's not a natural process for us to be in this bad of shape. We're not supposed to be going through this type of trauma. So by utilizing these modalities, we're able to get back and heal, and it helps us supercharge this process. But then, the whole goal is to get back into, God's healing, the grounding, the sun, the fresh air, the God's food, his herbs. And so, I would say a big part of it too is the kind of the government issued process of the military as well. Not only are they going through the head injuries, the trauma, but that's probably the most unnatural thing to be doing is to be fighting our neighbors and our brothers and sisters just because they live in another country or they have a different belief system or a political belief. So that's probably what the hardest thing is for the military to come back after doing some of these really tough things. I don't want to say awful because this is, you know, what you're supposed to serve your country and do this. We,
Right.
you know, a lot of them thought they were doing the right thing, but when then all of a sudden they get back, and we saw that, I guess, big time when people came back from the Vietnam War, they thought they were going to come back war heroes, but instead they were shunned by society. And then even, you know, a huge problem is the way that the medical system takes care of them. And I think it's almost purposely done to hurt our greatest warriors, the strongest men in our society. They went out to give their lives for the country, and then all of a sudden they come back, and it's like
And
almost
suicide's the answer too.
purposely not delivered to them correctly through all their different,
Not taken care
you know,
of.
the medicine. So it's just kind of an awful system. And I see with a lot of the awareness out there, we've been working a lot more with the military lately. And I think this will be one of the last generations to have to go through
Amen.
these awful issues.
I agree.
I hope so. I really
I
Yeah,
believe
and
we're
to
go-
that point with the PTSD and the you know the veterans, which we do see more and more, which is great because it's exciting to see that they're thinking outside the box rather than staying inward. The oxygen is a huge one that that is sped up the PTSD and that type of individual. So when you asked, I know you asked through, you know, are we seeing it take a little longer for people that have gone through trauma and stress and whatnot? We are because they've got kind of that additional layer, right? And again, you know, you're not going to heal unless you get that layer broken down. But it's pretty crazy and cool to see what's gone on with the intermittent hypoxia training and PTSD and emotion. You know, so I just wanted to point that out that has really helped us. That's one of kind of those ways to cut through when we'll have someone that has an initial PTSD or military, some type of trauma like that oxygen, you know, down-regulating the nervous system. Again, this is why the protocol is the protocol, because it really fits all those categories, and down-regulating the nervous system is first. But between doing those first 15 minutes of relaxing, doing breath work, talking to your body and mind and calming down, and then getting right on the oxygen. It's why the protocol is designed that way. But that oxygen one is really cutting through a lot of trauma and PTSD.
Awesome. So, what are some of the things that you would suggest for listeners who are not able to go to your center and or don't necessarily have immediate access to the tools that you're using, but they're trauma survivors and they're dealing with similar issues as your clients? What would be your suggestion? Either one of you. I don't know who wants to jump in.
You know, the beauty is, again, that this technology is speeding up the process and can make things occur quicker, but there is an expense to it. And there's a lot of things that people can do without having to pay that money, right? So whether it be sunlight is a huge one, getting out and grounding is a big one. So barefoot walking on the grass of the beach in the sun, drinking hydration, right? So hydration is a crucial one, and that's one that's not even debatable. You really need to have a good hydration system set up, whether it's something like an AquaTrue, which is a great basic filter. And then I know Trip and my wife Jessie have been fortunate enough to have Kangen machines to be able to filter that, right? But that water is one of those ones that anybody that's looking to take care of the health. There's even a book, right? You're not sick, you're thirsty. Because water is one of those core ones. So if you can get the proper water, some clean water with some minerals in there, and that can just be sea salt, right? Baja Gold, sea salt thrown in there and hydrated enough, along with movement in the sun, getting the grounding, breath work. Trip can go through a wide range of different breath works, everything from calming the system to giving yourself a buzz. But that breath work is another huge one, right? That you can do without having to come to our facility or even leave your home. I would say those ones. And then, sleep is one of those ones that we all
Yes.
just, no one, everyone
Underrated.
thinks we're too busy, way underrated. I mean, the brain goes through the lymphatic system goes through that cycle at 6.5 hour-ish mark of sleep where it rinses the brain. And if you're not getting to that point, that's where your plaque's building up and you're getting your Alzheimer's, dementia, and all the brain issues. And that's not even touching on the repair of the body
Yeah.
that goes on with sleep. So, there are so many simple things that are low cost. Again, this world kind of goes extreme, and now biohacking can also kind of overwhelm people and then be like, oh, I got to do all these things. There's a lot of simple things that people can do at home, like those core ones we went over. And then with the proper nutrition, you're going to solve 80% of your challenges right from just those alone.
Yep.
Very
Gardening.
cool.
Grow your own.
Gardening,
grow your own
love it.
food.
Oh, there,
Yeah.
there,
Or
getting
prayer and meditation. That's another thing,
Yeah.
that I feel like is so underrated. Like, bro, it's not cool anymore to pray. I guess.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. We making it cool.
Well,
we
I'm
making
talking
it cool.
about them, like people out
Yeah,
there.
well,
Not
it's because they
really.
know it works and they can't patent that,
Right.
right? That's
right,
why it's
right,
not.
exactly.
That's why it's
That's
not cool.
exactly
Yeah.
right. That's exactly right. With so many other things, like that's true about the nutrition too. Like
Yeah.
the protocol that we talked about, and I shared with you a little bit. It's like, it's been out for like 20 years now, and I'm like, why do we still have autistic children? It's because nobody could patent like eating healthy or like telling people that, hey, before pharmaceuticals came out, they actually people with all sorts of mental illnesses were healed through nutrition. Nobody cares anymore. Nobody makes money off of it. So anyways.
Well, it's why doctors learned, I think they spent one day of their schooling on nutrition.
Oh no, it
Something
was
like that,
no. When I
right?
went to
Not
my
even a full
primary,
day?
no, when I went to my primary
Yeah.
physician, who was actually a really good doctor and also trained in Eastern medicine, and I told her that I took my nutrition class in college, and she
Yeah.
went like, "Well, now you officially know more about nutrition than I do," and I
That-
was so
that-
confused. I'm like, "What are you? I thought she was joking," and she goes like, "No, it was never required for me to take nutrition in medical school," and I said, "Oh wow." Excuse me?
And that's why it's so tough. It's not their fault,
No,
right?
it's
So I
not.
want to rewind and I say doctors and we talk, like I'm not saying derogatory because
No.
they know what they know.
Exactly.
And if I spent all that money to go and all that time to learn too, I would think this is how you do it, right? This is
Correct.
what I was told. I was in this level, so I learned this. So there's no way that there's another way. But
Exactly right. That's exactly right. But that's why we're grateful for you guys
Yes.
doing what you're doing and keep doing it.
Thank
and
you.
and we're praying for more success and more success stories. What is I almost feel like we kind of talked about it a little bit. But if you what would be a good place for people to go and find more about what you do? Now we know about your center, but what is a good way to learn more about biooptimization in general?
well, you got a trip.
Oh, no, I mean, I feel like we had this question last time and you were better at answering, sending people to the right.
So, yeah, I mean, the simple one is going to theboi.health, right? And going to the website, and that can at least get the introduction. You can see some of the locations, the social medias, the Biooptimization Institute. You're looking at Instagram, Facebook. So those would be the best places really to follow along
Those are good.
the journey.
Can they reach out to you there also?
Absolutely. I mean, send us DMs on there. I mean, we're on LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn is a really great one. So LinkedIn, but yes, you can reach out on any of those, shoot us an email. There's a phone number on the website. And then we do a free 15-minute discovery call just to talk about the situation and see, how we can help or point you at least in the right direction.
Very neat. Thank you. Well, thank you, Trip and Jason, for this conversation.
Hey,
This
you
was
guys, I'd
awesome.
like to say thank you to the Patrick Riches CTE Awareness Foundation for all this nice equipment that we got. And of course, their commercials go on in the beginning, in the middle, and the end of our episodes. But I always like to give a shout out to them.
They're
especially
awesome.
during the
So
live-
this is exactly the kind of discussion we love having on Dr. Feelgood because it gives people hope and then also the practical advices. So special thank you both for that. And for our audience, if this conversation made you curious about brain recovery, biooptimization, cellular health, or how to support your body at a deeper level, David and I would love to help you and guide you to, experts like these guys here. You can also text us at 6622162235. You can just text the word brain or optimize, and then we'll get back with you and see where we think you should go next, show you what the next step is.
Thanks,
you very
guys.
much. And
Thank you.
it was really nice to have you here. Thank you.
All right.
Same here. All right. Take care.
Yeah.
Cool. Oops, you ended the call.
I did. Hang on, I'm still broadcasting. I did that wrong.
We wanted to do this the other way. Sorry about that. Let's see if we can get them back.
Yeah, we can, I'm sure. I don't know what's going on here, why it's not letting me. Here, let me just get out of here this way.
Okay, I'll message them real quick.
Yeah.
Or how about we call them real quick?